It's Sunday, June 9th, 2013. I'm Kevin McShann, and this is the McShann Sports Beat Report. The tantalizing pursuit of excellence begins with a clear description and directive of the execution of your preparation process. And for the Detroit Lions, they continue to follow their roadmap to a successful season this week during their organized team activities, looking to put a dismal 2012 4-12 campaign behind them and start anew as they search for a bout of consistency. On hand, watching practice this week was one of the highest in the chain of command for the organization in Lions Vice Chairman Bill Ford Jr., and he told reporters following practice on Tuesday that he was encouraged with the direction of the franchise.
It's very early, but I certainly like the talent on the team. We have a lot more depth than we did, I think, going into prior seasons, and I think it's the chemistry seems very good. It's always a new season. I mean, I think it's and I think we've learned that in prior seasons that it rarely carries over. It's a new bunch, and I think they'll have their own road to carve out. I think Martin has done a terrific job of building a very professional front office, and I do like the direction. I think the addition of Brian Zanders has been an important one for us, and I like the new coaches we have as well.
Do you get excited like the rest of us? I mean, just kind of coming out and watching the OTAs and your anticipation for seeing games and seeing competition from this team and not really knowing what it really will be till a game.
Jennifer, if you can't get excited watching football, you shouldn't be in this. I mean, I love the game of football, and yeah, it's very exciting. I love coming out here, and at the end of the day, we're all fans. I mean, I think even you guys probably, when you put down your recorders, you love watching the game and you get excited, and I do, and I always have, and I think the day that I'm no longer excited, no longer getting feel like a fan does, is the day I should think about something else.
And reason for encouragement going into the season would be
well, I mean, I think we've got a quarterback, and there are teams in the league that can't say that. And obviously we have a lot of talent around this quarterback as well, and so those are reasons that and I think defensively we've added important pieces, and I feel very good about the direction.
Despite the optimistic vote of confidence, perhaps what Ford Jr. didn't say specifically about the futures of head coach Jim Schwartz and general manager Martin Mayhew was more telling. Schwartz has presided over 3 losing seasons in his 4 full years with the club and amassed a record of 22-42, putting him 20 games under the break-even point, which signals the worst mark in franchise history for any coach lasting at least 4 years. Ford says he'll let events throughout the course of the season unfold naturally before making any final, definitive decisions. I think Jim would be the first to admit that there's been times where he's learned on the job, but I think he's a very, very good coach, Ford said. The Lions' field boss led the team to the playoffs in 2011 for the first time since 1999, sparking hope and life into what was widely considered a morbid franchise after the club recorded the only winless season in league history in 2008. Schwartz is entering the first year of a 3-year contract extension which runs through the 2015 season. However, Ford sidestepped any questions regarding Schwartz's immediate future and whether or not it was critical that he have a successful season in order to remain employed. I'm not going to address that at this point, Ford said, who hasn't spoken to beat reporters since July 30th of 2011. In December, ESPN had reported that the Fords had considered firing Schwartz due to his management style and the team's tattered public image. For his part, Schwartz is taking an optimistic and upbeat approach to the upcoming year. He continues to remain encouraged by the positive steps his team is taking forward this offseason. He talked to the media this week about the additions the team has made along the offensive line, how the injured players continue to positively mend, and how the club plans to reaffirm the high expectations moving forward, which will allow them to get back in the winning groove in 2013.
A couple guys like Harris and Scott were available this time of year. After June 1st, it's a little different dynamic when it comes to all the free agency rules and things like that. So, a chance to add veteran players that have played a lot of football. One of them's Leroy's still overcoming an offseason injury. He had knee surgery in the offseason, so he's not ready to practice yet. But we'll get Jake up to speed right away, and once we get training camp, we'll probably get Leroy up to speed. Both of them got experience, and, more depth, more guys in competition we can add, the better. We feel good about our all-season acquisitions. We felt good about the players we brought back and the players we've drafted. They're all working really hard. We're working mainly on passing game stuff, and I wouldn't read too much into the teamwork that we do because you really got to avoid contact this time of year. So it's really hard to get run game and run blocks and pass rush and pass blocking and those kind of things accomplished. Because guys are trying to keep the contact down. But timing of our passing game is good. Some of our young guys in the secondary have been able to get on the field that we hadn't really seen a whole lot of, guys like Chris Greenwood. Chris has worked very hard off the field last year, and now that it's come time to do it physically, so you get a better feel for guys in coverage and wide receivers and things like that than you do the linemen. And he's working hard. He's making mistakes, but you expect that. He's been cleaning them up, and his technique is has improved from where he was when he came. Everybody wants to win and to win now. I mean, whether you're in high school, college, the NFL, sure, we all feel that. And that goes for coaches, that goes for players. Everybody's in that same boat. We want to put last year behind us. The only way we can do that right now is working hard this time of year, working hard through our OTAs. Our first game doesn't come for quite a while, so keep our eyes on what's important right now. What's important right now is correcting some of the mistakes we made last year, working hard each day in our OTAs, trying to improve on some of the things we're good at, and try to work on some of the weaknesses that we have in some areas.
As for on-the-field matters, a lot of banter and discussion this offseason has centered around the role of leadership for this current Lions crop and just how the new acquisitions will mesh and seek to make their impact felt between the lines. For that part of the story, we turn to DetroitLions.com's lead writer, Tim Twentyman, and columnist, Mike O'Hara.
Tim Twentyman and Mike O'Hara here with DetroitLions.com. And we got to see practice today, and we got to talk to Ndamukong Suh after practice, and just your impressions of Ndamukong, what he had to say. Obviously, the leadership factor was brought up to him today.
Well, a couple of things about Dom. First of all, he's in great shape, but he always is. That's nothing new with him. The guy's always ready to practice, always ready to play. He just seems so comfortable today, so relaxed. We asked him a bunch of questions. One about leadership. He said, yeah, he would love to be voted a captain, but he's going to be Ndamukong Suh. He's not going to be what people want him to be. He's going to be authentic. Authentic is the word he used. I thought he looked good. I thought he sounded good. Then also threw in there, he had his restructured contract to help with salary cap relief. He'd be interested in a long-term contract. He said, well, that's 2 years away, but I wanted to make it clear I'd like to stay in Detroit.
He wouldn't bite when we did ask him about Nick Fairley's comments from a couple weeks ago about him and Nick being the best tackle tandem in the league. He smiled a little bit. I think he thinks it, but he wasn't ready to make a bold statement. I think with Ndamukong, it's more about his play on the field, not talking in OTAs.
Well, I think he said it has to be proven on the field, but guess what? I think he wants to prove it on the field. It's more up to Fairley, though, than it is up to Suh.
This is the second OTA that we've been able to see. The second time we've seen Reggie Bush in a uniform and now in this offense. Just your impressions of what you've seen from him early on.
Well, first of all, right from the beginning, we put aside the Hollywood part of it. He's just a football player. He's just another gym rat here who's at work. The thing I noticed about him is he's so smooth. He can catch the ball. I'm not going to do it like Reggie Bush. He can catch it and turn it, and he's gone. You don't see a misstep. You don't see a stumble. You don't see any wasted movement at all. And that's if I was a quarterback of Matthew Stafford, Sean Hill, and Kellen Moore, whoever plays that position. That's what you got to love about this guy, because you get at the ball. It doesn't take him forever to set up. He'll catch it, and he's gone. He just seems to have a great grasp of playing the position of running back, as good as I've seen around here in a long time. And I've been around a long time.
Another guy who can play his position pretty well is Calvin Johnson, and he's a guy who I think has just been terrific in OTAs, and you almost want to have Calvin take a step back because he's making diving catches. He's catching the ball one hand over the middle. He's down the sideline laying out, and every time you do it, you just wonder, is this going to be the time he doesn't get him up? You love his effort. That's Calvin. You can't take the football player out of the guy, but I wish they toned it back a little bit. He's the best player out here.
Well, I saw him after practice. He just walked by and said, how are your fingers? He just went like that and laughed. So things just kind of roll off. But in general, I saw some of the young guys, and they are what they are. But I think there's a feeling on this team that they've got 4 starters out of the draft. First 3 picks of the punter. Like if you call the punter a starter, okay, but we're talking about Ziggy Ansah, Darius Slay, the cornerback, and then Horford, the guard. I think they feel good about the way this team is set up right now. It's like everything else, you got to move forward. He's Tim Twentyman, and I'm Mike O'Hara. We've got another video for you this week. We're going to talk about scoring, okay, Tim? Reggie Bush has brought it up a couple of times, most recently during this week's OTAs, and he says that there's no reason the Lions shouldn't be in the top 3 in offense. Agree? Disagree?
And I say we have to look at what that really means. Does that mean yards? Because the Lions were number 3 in yards last year. We saw what that translated to 4 wins. I think when you talk about the top 3 offense, that needs to be scoring. It needs to be points. Lions scored a little more than 23 points per game last year. That ranked 17th. That's not getting it done. I think when he talks number 3 offense, it's a combination of yards and scoring, and it has to be kind of a symbiotic relationship between both.
And I come equipped, okay, with some statistics. I'm going to put my head down here.
Where you headed to?
And I'm going to read, so you have to look at the top of my head here. But yeah, I agree with you. But I think one of the issues here that we overlook is the touchdowns the Lions get on offense are pretty good, pretty representative of good offense. But they get no help in the return game. For example, they scored 39 offensive touchdowns, 0 on returns, not on special teams, not on defense with fumble recoveries, return for touchdowns, interceptions, return for touchdowns. Here's the stat. Super Bowl champion, Baltimore Ravens, 39 offensive touchdowns, 5 on returns. How about this? San Francisco 49ers, the team they beat in the Super Bowl, 40 offensive touchdowns, 1 more than the Lions, 4 on returns. How about this? Indianapolis Colts, 34 offensive touchdowns, 6 on returns, made the playoffs. Minnesota Vikings, 34 offensive touchdowns, 5 on returns, made the playoffs. Chicago Bears, 32 offensive touchdowns, 10 on returns. There's more than one way to get the ball in the end zone. I think it's scoring efficiency, not just volume, but the return game defense helps out too.
All parts need help. I think when they had such success in 2011, 5 return touchdowns, I think it was, or 5 defensive scores. That's the type of production they need. The offense needs to score 39. They need some extra help from their defense, from their special teams. I think that's going to make this team a lot better. It's going to be what Reggie Bush said, a scoring team.
And one other thing, too, I don't think you can have games like they did against the Titans and the Chicago Bears at Chicago, where you're going in for touchdowns and give up the ball. You can't have that either, especially the 2 killing turnovers by McEllisher and Joyke Bell against the Bears in Chicago. I think it all fits together.
I think it all, and red zone efficiency, I think I would include in there, too. When you get down there, they can't settle for 3. Too many times last year, they settled for 3, didn't get the extra 4 points, and in one-score games, that's the difference sometimes.
Tournament also joined the cast and crew of NFL AM to talk Lions offensive production, the commanding role that quarterback Matthew Stafford has assumed, and whether the Lions can bounce back in 2013.
And for more on the state of the Lions, let's make a wake-up call to Tim Twentyman, the Lions insider for DetroitLions.com. Good morning, Tim.
How you guys doing this morning?
Real good, man. Tell me, have the OTAs given any sense of how much Reggie Bush is going to be utilized in the offense this coming season?
Yeah, I think a little bit. Jim Schwartz said this offseason that you wouldn't be surprised at all if Reggie caught 60 to 80 passes. You remember back to his rookie year in New Orleans, he caught 88, and he averaged 70 his first 3 seasons in the league. And we've already seen, Bush tell us that hey, this is going to be the role that I had in New Orleans. He's going to play some running back, he's going to play some slot receiver, he's going to catch a lot of passes in this offense. And he was even returning punts last week, so it's certainly going to be a multi-dimensional role in this offense for Reggie Bush.
Tim, Matt Stafford recently declared the Lions, quote, his team. Does he have a different attitude coming into this season than the season has passed?
I don't think it's a different attitude than it is really a different set of circumstances. Gone are veteran guys like Jeff Backes, Kyle Vanden Bosch, Corey Williams. This is a much younger team. Stafford's entering his 5th season, even though he is 25 years old. And I think it's just natural for your franchise quarterback to kind of assume those responsibilities. Again, I think it's good for him that he wants those, but I don't think it's any different. This was his team last year as well. He was answering a question, and I think, he's the guy, he's the franchise guy, he's that leader on offense, and it's been that way for, I think, a couple of years now.
Tim, Calvin Johnson had 122 catches, nearly 2,000 yards last year, and I'd imagine that teams are going to try to find ways to continue to triple and double him. It didn't seem like any of it worked last year, obviously, but what are the Lions doing to try and find ways to get him open?
Well, to make your point, out of 1,160 plays the Lions ran in 2012, 855 of them were against defenses with 6 or fewer defenders in the box. That's really an amazing stat when you think about it, and that was by far most in the NFL. In fact, the Lions faced only 8 or more defenders in the box 1.6% of their plays. So, I think we talked about Reggie Bush off the top. I think that's one of the things that's going to help Calvin a lot. He's going to be a major factor. We mentioned all those defenders, not many defenders in the box. Well, the Lions only had 4 rushing plays of 20-plus yards, explosive runs, as Jim Schwartz called them. And I think that's what's been missing out of this offense. They have to make defenses play them honest, and I think Reggie Bush is going to be one of those guys who can make a play, turn a short catch into a long play, and that's going to help Calvin Johnson in the long run.
Well, give me the name of a receiver that can take advantage of the single coverage that they're obviously going to have.
Yeah, Ryan Boyle jumps to mind right away. The 2nd-round pick last year. He's coming off a 2nd ACL, so we'll have to monitor, how that recovery goes. But Scott Linehan told me after the draft last year that he was the best prospect he'd ever talked to in terms of a kid being able to decipher between man and zone concepts and how to get open, between the both. He's just one of those football players who just knows how to get open. Led the NCAA in all-time catches, and Scott told me he's the guy who can maybe run the same route 5 different ways depending on the defense. And I think the Lions missed him. He was really starting to come on before that 2nd ACL last year. He's one who jumps to mind. Nate Burleson coming off a broken leg, but where's he at age 31 now? And then maybe their 6th-round pick, Corey Fuller, a former track guy who now is being asked to spread the field and might have some opportunities opposite Calvin on the other side as well.
Surveying the landscape of his new surroundings, the Lions' splash acquisition this offseason and running back Reggie Bush also stepped to the podium this week to raise expectations and the perception of his new Lion mates.
Yeah, well, it's very similar to the Saints offense. Very spread open. We got a lot of weapons. And, we got a really good quarterback back there who can throw the ball, who's a leader. So, it's very spread open and just a lot of firepower. So, and a lot of diversity with Linehan in his play calling. So it's very similar to the Saints offense. It's probably completely different from the Miami Dolphins offense. I said it yesterday when I was doing an interview, and I said there's no excuse for us to not to be, top 3 offense, even number 1. We have the guys here of that caliber to be able to be a top-ranked offense in this league. It's up to us now, to putting in the work, the overtime, the film study, just everybody collectively being all in and being on the same page. But like I said, there's no reason why we can't be a top offense in this league. I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Guys, when coaches figure out, those guys up front, we'll be okay. I think as a running back, right now, the things that I'm looking at has nothing to do with the offensive line. It's more about figuring out the schemes and keeping my focus small and doing the little things right. So right now I'm not even worried about the offensive line who's blocking. I'm just more so focused on doing my job. You know what? Stafford is a really good quarterback, and he reminds me a lot of Drew when Drew first got to New Orleans. Still young, has a long way to go in his career, but he's very talented. He's a leader, and he's very vocal, and so he has all the tangibles to be a great quarterback in this league. He already is a great quarterback in this league, so I look forward to playing with him this year. Just doing my part, being accountable, helping bring some leadership to this offense, this team, and just when I'm in there in the game, just making sure I'm accountable, I'm doing little things right, running for 4 yards, doing little things that help this offense, just be consistent. I think consistency is going to be the biggest thing for us. It helps a lot, doing the little things, like just going over some routes that we may not have connected, throughout practice. That's going to help us. That's going to go a long way into the season. So I just try to work with him on some of the things that it may not even be what he needs. It may be something that I feel like I need, and just to get better at it, or something that we need to correct between each other. But those little things help to make a big difference. Yeah, honestly, I don't think we're far at all. I think like I said, we have the guys here to be able to win a Super Bowl. Now, obviously, with that said, there's a lot that has to go into, this season, this team, this offseason, before we can even think about that. Right now, we just got to think about doing little things right and kind of coming together, building that chemistry. That's going to help us, down into the season, when we're down by a touchdown in the fourth quarter with a minute to go, and we got to drive a whole football field. Those are little things right now are going to help us during the season. The talent is there. When you look at, just from the receivers, with Calvin Johnson and Nate Burleson, and then you go to the tight ends with Pettigrew and Scheffler, and then the running backs with me and Michael and Joique Bell. We have all the guys there to be a great offense. And like I said, it's just about everybody doing the little things right, being held accountable on and off the field, and just getting ready for this journey.
Consistency in athletics begins with a method to obtain measurable accountability of action and translating that both on and off the field. For the Detroit Lions, they now have a chance for a reprieve following a dismal 4-12 season where they lost 8 in a row. They've made significant changes to both their coaching staff and roster this offseason, all for what they hope is for the betterment of the team. Their signal caller and trigger man has blossomed into the main man on offense, taking the bull by the horns and making sure that the Lions offense roars routinely in 2013. For its on-the-field production, which this group will ultimately be judged on, both players, coaches, and executives alike. Bill Ford Jr. is upbeat and positive now because the Lions haven't lost a game. And, by the way, they are an improved football team. The question is, however, how improved are they? They've gone through a significant roster purge, getting rid of veterans such as Kyle Vanden Bosch, Stephen Peterman, and Corey Williams, just to name a few, all in an effort to invest in a youth movement to improve athleticism and results. Now the question is, will it work? And will Jim Schwartz be able to rally the troops behind one common cause? And can the Lions ascend back to the mountaintop of prosperity and production? Or will heads roll once again at Allen Park? For the best interest of the franchise, a successful season could be just what the doctor ordered to make sure that this ship stays on track and that the equity which has been built over time can be calculated for a prolonged period. Jim Schwartz and his players are emotional by nature. However, they have to harness that emotion into controlled aggression to make sure that they can maximize results and get a return on the significant investment they've made. All eyes will be watching because everyone in Allen Park is now on the clock. And the Lions have worked hard to establish a new era of both accountability and culture within their hollow halls. And now it's up to everyone involved with the club to ensure that the stay of execution is carried out to a T as the Honolulu Blue and Silver look to reinstate themselves into the national conversation of relevance. Their offensive firepower is obvious, with the best quarterback and wide receiver tandem in all of the NFL. And as for defense, they've made some significant investments in free agent pickup Glover Quinn and the retainment of safety Louis Delmas, not to mention the drafting of quarterback Darius Slay to try and make a difference in that secondary. However, what makes the motor run and what is the key to the entire operation on the defensive side of the football is their defensive line and getting pressure on the quarterback. Jim Schwartz and Martin Mayhew have staked their job and sink their teeth into the development of Ziggy Ansah with the 5th overall pick in this past draft, and he holds the key to both men's future in the Motor City, because if he doesn't pan out, both men could be walking to the unemployment line at the end of the season. However, we'll end this report on an optimistic tone. The Lions seem to think they have a foundation on which to build, and now all that's left is for them to prove it. Kevin McShann, Sports Beat, reports.